Welcome back to another episode of the Downsizing Roadmap podcast with your hosts, Jody Rosko and Heather Fisher. We're talking about all things downsizing, from our own experiences with clients to guest experts. Let's make downsizing easier, one conversation at a time. Happy New Year! Welcome to Downsizing Roadmap.
Yeah, lots of time to talk about some fresh starts here in the new year and moving forward to find out our resolutions and a downsizing plan and how to address the mindset shift that comes along with those fresh starts. I'm Heather Fisher.
And I'm Jody Rosko.
We're excited to talk to you today. We're talking a little bit, science of temporal landmarks.
Yeah, that's a big word.
Yes.
Yeah, so you know how it feels like you're always like, for me anyways, I get through Christmas, or not even like before Christmas actually sometimes, and I'm like, oh, I gotta get rid of this stuff, like it's time to clean things out, and you just really feel like you're ready to like let things go, and that's actually because there's science behind it.
Yeah, we love when the science comes alongside the things, that we all feel and know and just proves why. So the temporal landmarks are those big events that happen. It could be crossing over into a new year, could be milestone birthdays.
Yep, ends in a zero.
Yeah, ends in a zero.
Ends in a 5.
Just passed one of those recently. Changes in season, lots of things, but it's just a change from one thing to another, and that brings these landmarks, kind of the new me and the old me, and how things look on either side. Our brain kind of sets that line in the sand when those things happen.
It says it loves new beginnings, right? And so then it looks for things that make it a new beginning. So that's why like a birthday, or like the beginning of the year, or the first warm day of the year, whatever that is, but like it looks for things that will be like, oh, here's a new beginning. Yeah. And so then it wants to use those things. And so what we want to talk about today is how are we going to use those things to create momentum for 2026, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to do this actually in 2 parts. So this part's going to be a mindset part. So we're going to talk really all about mindset in this episode. And then the next episode, we're going to talk about
putting that all to work.
Yeah. How
do we actually do that?
Make that happen. So.
Yeah.
Okay. So we find often in real estate in January, people start thinking, like asking questions quietly. They're not like ready to go necessarily. Sometimes they are, but if they're just deciding that maybe 2026 is time to make a move, then they're like, hey, what about this? Or what about that? Yeah. And so you kind of just get those first questions, just kind of it's changing their mindset around what their future is going to look like, really, and figuring out what that's looking like. So if that's you, that's okay. You can just start with baby steps and kind of work your way towards it. But that's why we make New Year's resolutions, and we start thinking like, hey, what is this year going to look like? So that's what we want you to do here, is start thinking about what is this year going to look like.
Yeah, it's a great time to be curious and start thinking about that strategy and how we're going to address it. And just start getting excited about what can come. I think, I oftentimes set resolutions, and it does feel like the thing to do, and your brain's ready to set them. And hopefully we can talk through some of the mindset about making them stick
and tactics next time about how to make just what to do so that they will stick. Yeah, you got to you got to fool yourself in certain ways sometimes. So really, your brain is thinking like, this is the difference between like the old me and the new me. And so if you can make that new you really you, that is actually what will make it stick, is like you are that person who is whatever that is, organized, or whatever it is that you're trying to work on. So that's why when your brain is working on that same thing, old me, new me, that we'd start a diet on Monday. Like, we're not going to start it on Friday before the weekend, right? We're going to start it on Monday. It's fresh start, right? Birthdays that end in zeros feel really big because it's again, your brain's like, oh, this is a new old me, new me. Like,
new decade and all of those things.
Yeah. or you just start, researching something that you want to do in the future. And you're like, if it's travel, if it's, Zillow, if whatever it is, like you just start researching things and you're like, oh, that's because you're trying to figure out who the new you is going to be.
Yeah. Whenever there's that transition point, be it a holiday or a season or a birthday, you want to step onto the other side of that feeling lighter and freer in many different, that can look like many different ways. There's lots of New Year's resolutions about, weight loss and things like that. And, new spaces or more organization. A lot of the resolutions we see at those all fall in those categories. So that's right in line with hopefully what we inspire you guys to do each week when you listen.
Yeah.
Just to wrap around that and grab that momentum that comes by science.
Yeah. So the science is that there was Catherine Milkman did research. I think she was at Wharton, but she said that people are 63% more likely to take on meaningful goals after a temporal landmark, whatever one is setting you to that place. But 63% more likely is really high. So that's like a huge motivation point. So how can we grab that motivation and use it? Like, since it's already there and it's happening and it's the new year, how can we grab that and use it? So the reason that this happens is that we have a psychological separation. So again, that's back to the old me, you me. So that was the past me, whether you were, a not 0 to a 0, a different decade, or whether it was last year and this year, or whatever that looks like, whether it was before retirement or after retirement, or before empty nesting and after empty nesting. There's all kinds of temporal landmarks, and some of them are stronger than other ones. Like the first warm day of the year is one, but it's not maybe as strong as turning in, to a new decade or retiring or something like that.
Yeah.
But there's a psychological separation, so that's one part of it. There's also a hope boost in it. So your dopamine increases when something feels new. It's exciting, like new and exciting things. So it just gives you that a dopamine boost, which feels like motivation, right? So that fuels your motivation to do something new.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants that dopamine hit, right?
Absolutely. It's a great place too that any guilt you're carrying from what you didn't accomplish the last time you had one of these milestones and maybe set some goals, it's a whole fresh slate. So you can release, anything that didn't happen. We've all had those resolutions that we did not stick with. So, that's part of the old me, and it's just a clean slate to let that go and start anew.
Right. So it's not going to magically make you a different person on January 1st. And if you were totally unorganized, you're not necessarily going to be totally organized, January 2nd after the 1st. But it may give you a big feeling of motivation to get to that place, to maybe, go through your paperwork and get it organized this year, or, go through that garage or that attic or that basement or wherever you're storing all of the things that you aren't really using. And so it can give us motivation. And so we feel different about ourselves. And so that shift does matter, the part where we feel different.
Yeah. Any project that you're looking to tackle or goal to accomplish always starts with getting started in any small form. So grab onto that motivation and get started, and then we'll fill in the rest on how to keep that going.
Right. So scientifically, that's why January has just always been a huge reflection month, because it's the end of the year to the new year. And so it's not necessarily a month where you need to take all the action. It's more that month where you need to be thinking and dreaming and imagining and kind of figuring out what's this year going to be, and then take action after that.
Yeah, step 1 of our 5-step process. Yep. Dream it.
It's January. It's January. Let's get it done.
Yes, absolutely.
So in that thought process, we have all done this and watched others do it, but we've had that excitement and motivation and made all the resolutions for New Year, and then
it plummets.
So over 80% of our resolutions fail by February, and 23% of them fail in that first week. So if that's what's happening to you, that's okay. You can start over again. You can just pick it up and be like, hey, this is what I was going to do. The reasons that people think that's about discipline. Like they just didn't have the discipline to do whatever that thing was, whether it was working out or whether it was cleaning out or whatever that thing is. But it's really not about the discipline. It's about the mindset. And it's about whether you think you are somebody who works out or whether you think you are somebody who is organized, and you actually believe it. And if you are just trying to be that person, then that's a place that takes a lot of energy. You don't have a habit around it, or you don't have a system around it. And so that place takes a lot of energy. And until you can get it to a place where that is who you believe you are, and I am just an organized person. And so you're automatically not going to be the stuffer that I might be sometimes. And this is something I will have to work on. But so you when you believe that that's who you are, then your actions change. And so you're an organized person. So you, of course, aren't going to take that and stuff it somewhere. You're going to do with it whatever needs to happen before, it goes away, put it in the right place or let it go or whatever needs to happen with it, because that's who you are, not what you're trying to be. Yeah.
And I would say layering on, why you are that person. What's that big goal? What's that dream? So you're not just setting an arbitrary mindset around something. Oh, I want to suddenly be this person. What's the why behind that?
Right. Right. So the reasons that the resolutions fail are we set goals that are tied to pressure, not purpose. So that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
What's your purpose? You say that all the time.
One of my favorite phrases.
Phrases. What's the purpose?
Yeah.
But knowing what the purpose is or what that dream looks like or where you're trying to go with it, we've talked about vision boards, we've talked about journaling, we've talked about all of that in a way to make sure that you know what's happening and you can keep looking back at it over and over again to remind yourself until you turn into that person, right? So set goals that are tied to purpose, not pressure, just because you look at it and you go, I should be doing that. Okay, well, that's not going to ever get you anywhere, right?
Right.
I want to be doing that because that's going to get me to this other place that I want to be, is better. And then we try to change our behavior without changing our identity, right? So if you've read the book Atomic Habits, which talks all about this, it's so great. And he talks a lot about this. And he talks about people who run a marathon and then never run again or whatever, because their goal was to run the marathon. And their goal really needed to become a runner.
Be a runner, yeah.
Yeah. And so if you become the runner, then the marathon is just something that you do as part of you being a runner, right? And so when you take that thought process and then you apply it to all the different things in your life, if you want to be organized or you want to get through your things or you want to live more simply or whatever that looks like, what is your identity around it now? What are your words that you tell yourself around it now, and what needs to change for that?
Yeah, that's such a smart way to approach it. For instance, saying I'm an organized person could change so many habits. You walk in the house and you handle the mail that you brought in right away, and it goes to the trash or the shredder or where it needs to be, and coats get hung up where they need to be in a closet that's not overstuffed. And it's a domino effect versus a task oriented, I'm going to clean out the closet this weekend. You are just becoming the person that
doesn't have a messy closet in the first
doesn't
place.
have a messy closet in the first place. And it allows, there may be some of those tasks that are needed as you get started, but that mindset shift moves it forward so it doesn't just become it was clean once and then I let it all come back in and the junk to pile up or the mail and you're right back where you started. This is a path where if you make that mindset shift to what Jody's saying and embrace that language of whatever it is you want to be, it does become how you attack every part of the day. And so the projects happen once maybe if they need to or just improve as you go along. But then you are that person.
And when you are that person, it doesn't take a whole lot of willpower to make yourself do it. And it doesn't, because you're just living it. It turns into something totally else. So think of something that you are doing now, that you are the person that you want to be, and how easy that is in that scenario, and whatever's really hard, how can you turn that into something that you just believe that you're the person that does the hard thing, if that makes sense. I'm using
words have such power, and I think in lots of instances we know that, but the words we say to ourselves have such power, even more so than outward, I think, sometimes. So we're really just talking about shifts in how you talk to yourself and how you think about yourself and how you think about what you're doing and why, what you're telling yourself around that, so that you're living a life where things are choices and things you choose and things you love, and you're surrounded by, whatever that looks like as a calm, peaceful life for you, whatever those dreams are, certainly possible, and you can become that person living that.
Yeah, because if we get really deep here, we're talking, there's a voice in our head all the time, and that voice could be just lying to you. And that voice could be not even your voice. Like, that could be somebody that told you something once in your life, or more than once in your life, if you got told over and over again. Or you tell yourself, I'm not good at names, I can't remember anybody's name. Well, you're not going to remember people's names, because that's who you've identified yourself as, right? And so pay attention to that voice and what you're telling yourself in all of those things.
Yeah, I know, as you just said that, the words that came into my head, I was like, oh, why are the words that I'm remembering maybe not the kindest words I could be? I think we all attach to something not as positive that we've heard. So this is about filling your brain, retraining your brain to tell yourself those positives over and over, and those attributes that you already are and maybe have not acknowledged, or that you want to be. Fake it till you make it kind of mentality. Just keep telling yourself those things.
I think sometimes if we listen to those voices in our heads, like they are not kind. Like, they are, you wouldn't be friends with that person sometimes. So that's something to think about. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Right. So,
absolutely.
Okay. So we're going to change into the identity that we're actually looking for. And that's a way that we're going to not fail on our New Year's resolutions. And then we're going to create goals that are based on who we're becoming and not who we used to be. So again, all forward thinking, right? So we need to spend some time doing the forward thinking about what it is that we want it to look like. Yeah. So then we can turn into that. So,
yeah. So in talking about the temporal landmarks, in general, these can also shape the way we see our homes, mm-hmm. which is, what we're often talking about here on our podcast. So these fresh starts can make us reevaluate our environment.
Right.
Like you were saying at the beginning, Christmas happens, and then it's like, get these decorations down as soon as possible, and let's vacuum and dust and clean, because you just want that fresh start in your space, because you're feeling that dopamine and that energy from the landmark happening, the new year happening, and you want to embrace it. Yeah. Suddenly you might see things that you haven't paid attention to in a long time, rooms that you don't use, or closets that are full, just emotional weight that you've been carrying quietly about what's going on in your living situation.
And I think sometimes that stuff builds up slowly, so slowly that you just don't notice it on a daily basis. And we've talked before about how much visual clutter really how it affects your brain. Affects your brain, and visual clutter helps you makes you less able to do things and less functional, really.
Yeah,
and
your
so
focus.
And so what I think what happens is we see this more when we in that temporal landmark time, we see it more, and we're like, ugh, that's bothering me, and that's bothering me, and all that buildup of it then kind of comes all together, and you're like, ugh, I can't stand it anymore. I have to do, get whatever it is, closets clean, counters clean, whatever it is that's been bugging you, and you've walked by it a bunch of times and pushed it away because you just didn't have time to deal with it, but it is bothering you.
Yeah, it's a time to reflect on what those are. and really get started with a plan to make it better before that next landmark comes.
Yeah. And we'll ask ourselves stuff like, why am I heating all these floors, or, that I'm not using, or why do I need all these clothes that I'm not wearing? Or, those are the kind of questions that kind of start to pop in your mind during that time. So, so sometimes, we outgrow a space emotionally before we outgrow it physically, right? So we, it's the same. The house is the same, but we change.
Yeah.
Right. The house is the same, but we're changing it. We're changing, and then it's not serving us anymore. So and sometimes we just don't pay attention to what's happening. But if you really look at it and spend some time thinking about it, you might realize it's not working for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is why so many clients start their downsizing conversations in January. Honestly, they'll or after milestone birthdays, or after retirement or whatever. But the house didn't change, but they did, and their goals have changed, and their future things that they want to do has changed, and so now it doesn't fit anymore.
Yeah, it's a great time to see how we can make those next plans happen and feel good about that. So we're going to talk about some different mindset shifts that you can adopt right now. We're going to talk about action on part 2 next week. So right now, these are just some things, to start changing your emotions around things and to look into things. So mindset shift number 1, this is a new chapter, not a closing.
Right.
So I think that, again, we've talked about that a lot, but that's that forward thinking. That's that choice for what's next, not mourning what's different.
Yeah, not a loss.
Not a loss.
Yeah, it's a fresh start. Mm-hmm. It's a fresh start. It's not a loss.
Yeah, and when you take the time to think about it, there's a lot more choices that you can bring into action instead of things just happening to you as time goes by.
Yeah, and downsizing is, you're just simplifying. It's about choosing what you want to spend your time doing, and what your freedom can look like. And so it's all about choices, and sometimes people don't feel like that, but it really is all about choices and what you want to make and what comes next. So you're not losing space, you're gaining freedom.
Yeah, you're easing the burdens that we all carry from different things that push on us, if it's the maintaining the house, or not being able to find things, or physically not being able to, having your back hurt and you're having difficulty and being exhausted at the end of the day because things are harder. It's all about easing that burden. It's not about loss.
Right. Mindset shift number 2 is I'm allowed to grow out of what once fit me. Gosh, I'm struggling today. I am allowed to grow out of what once fit me. And this is, to me, all I hear is guilt is not a gift, right? So it's basically like, it's okay. It's okay if this worked for you, the house worked for you, the place worked for you, you loved it. But now you don't love it quite as much anymore because your thought process has changed, your things that you want to do have changed. Maybe you loved gardening and now you're kind of over it. Whatever it is, it's okay. It's totally okay that it fit you once, and you can still love those memories around it. Like you can still think, oh my gosh, that was just the greatest house. But now it's time for something different.
Yeah, and you always want where you are to be serving you well, and when that shift happens, it's okay that changed, and now you're just embracing what happened there was wonderful, and now you're going to create new wonderful memories at that next landing spot.
Yeah, and it might be the house that's you're outgrowing. It might be your schedule that you're outgrowing. It might be your identity, that you're growing into something different. So all of those things can change, and you shouldn't feel guilt about it. It's just time changes is the only thing, right? What was that saying? I can't think of it, but like the only thing you can count on is change, or something along those lines, right? So it always is going to happen, and whether you want it to or not. So you might as well embrace it. Yeah,
and refocusing your mind, changing that lens of how you look at it. That change can be so positive. It doesn't always have to be hard. There's so much out there to go grab that can be positive.
Right. Mindset shift number 3 is identity leads behavior, which we were talking about earlier, right? So if you aren't changing your identity around it, you aren't going to change your behavior around it. So your resolutions are going to fail when you start with behavior. So you have to actually start with identity. So I am someone who values blank, peace, organization.
I think
whatever.
like simple to explain that simply, it's like you could resolve, I'm going to make my bed every day. But that's a task.
Right.
We don't all love doing that. I mean, even if we love the result, we don't love doing it. But saying, I'm going to make my bed every day, and you start counting, I've done it 3 days in a row. Oh, I've done it, 6, and then I skipped a day, and that, and it's just like weighing on you as something you said you were going to do. When you miss a day, you feel that hit of, oh, I failed at that. Okay, get back on it. And that's very task oriented, but you could reframe it as, I'm the person that loves to come home to a peaceful retreat at the end of the night. And you're talking about your space providing you that peace and comfort and that welcoming feeling. That's the result of making your bed in the morning. That's, I'm the person that has this wonderful retreat to come to at the end of the day. And it's that shift that makes, it's not that you love making the bed anymore than you did before, but you're shifting into that person that sees the reward bigger than the task that it took to get there. And that becomes your why. And that's a small example, but if you layer all of those on top of each other, you just become the person that does all of these little things that turn your life into exactly what you wanted it to be.
Yeah, and if you do that, it will just become automatic. You won't even think about it. Like, for example, most of us do not think about whether we're going to brush our teeth in the morning.
Yeah.
We just brush our teeth. Like, you get up and you brush your teeth. And so that mindset is like, I'm somebody that takes care of themselves, right? And so thinking like about brushing your teeth is just automatic. Like, it just happens. Like, that is just part of whatever, system you have in the morning. When it is that you do that, and you just do it without really thinking about it. And so again, it might take some energy to get to that place, to changing the mindset around your identity. But then once you do it, it takes so much less energy to do all the things that go around being that person.
Yeah. And if you think back on, if you're like, okay, well then all of this should be easy. When you think back to being little kids or, having your own little kids, you had to remind them every day, did you brush your teeth? Go brush your teeth. We brush our teeth because we don't want to have cavity. You had to put all those reminders in place, but there was the why. We brush our teeth because we don't want to have cavities, and
we take care of ourselves.
Yeah, we take care of ourselves. So it is those mindset shifts where you reframe it in the way that you're becoming that person, but there is that word becoming. It's it's not a day one, it's a process of just shifting till you are that person.
Right. Mindset shift number 4. Curiosity is enough for now. So we don't have to make decisions and pack boxes and, do all the things. Curiosity is the first safe step for mindset change. And so that's why it honestly is step number 1 is to be dreamy for us in our downsizing plan is, be curious. Go find out things. If you're like, I wonder, if this is the year to, make a move or to, to travel somewhere or to, whatever it is, go do some research, find out about what that is, what that would take, what the process would look like, go talk to somebody or go, let your fingers, do the walking and, figure out, Google it all and figure out what that could look like. Because curiosity is the first step of mindset change, and it removes the pressure without you actually having to physically do the thing. Like, it kind of gives you that release of like, oh, okay, that's doable. I could do that.
Yeah, it definitely shows you the path, which makes anything easier when you're not, going out a million different directions halfway and then you're, drowning in the middle. You're just moving forward on a path, and that always starts with information being power and curiosity, exploring what different dreams might look like and figuring out if those really are what you want that plan to be.
Yeah, because you cannot have that clarity without some data.
Yeah.
And so if you're like, I'm going to do, pick 3 things that you want to do this year, then go spend some time being curious about them and figuring out what that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. Mindset shift number 5. That is a tongue twister. We're struggling today with that, folks. Mindset shift number 5. I don't have to do this alone. So that is just such an important one. Fresh starts are always easier with guidance and conversation and trusted people. It's a little bit of information that someone might have that you don't have. It's support and accountability. If you, just need that partner asking about, did you take steps forward? That makes a goal easier. It's the social aspect. If it's something you can do with friends or family or meeting new people, all of those things, when you're not in it alone and no one knows what you're doing and you haven't shared and you haven't asked for help and you're not feeling isolated, that's the way to do it. And you don't have to do it alone. If it's related to downsizing and that's on your goal list for this year, that's what we're here for, reaching out to us for questions that you have or topics you need more information on, or if you're ready to make that more permanent move, reaching out to us about real estate resources is what we're here for. You absolutely do not need to do it alone.
Yep. And I think that just relieves some pressure too. I think that's where your overwhelm comes in, when you're just sitting there and you're by yourself without being curious, without doing some of those other things, and you just get overwhelmed. And then it's like, oh, that's a tomorrow problem and a tomorrow problem and a tomorrow problem, and it just never really, gets better.
Gets there.
Yeah. So, what a fresh start really means. Just start making little decisions about what your future is going to look like. Maybe big decisions. I mean, maybe you go big with it, but start really taking a look at what that looks like.
Yeah. Little pieces add up to big momentum always. So it doesn't have to feel like one day to the next it's going to be a drastic change, but looking into the future as to where you're headed and where you want to be headed lets those little choices each day become more apparent and become the person that you're focused on being and what your plan is.
Yeah. So if 2026, if you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I want to do something new in 2026, then that's because this is the time to feel like that. And so embrace it and use that energy to figure out what we can do next. And we're going to talk in part 2 about like specific things that you can do, but embrace that energy, start being curious, start writing down what that looks like for you so that you can start moving towards it. Start telling yourself that's the kind of person you actually are, and not just the thing that you want to do, and that'll get your mindset in the right place so that you can start moving forward and taking action and actually making it happen for yourself.
Yeah, mindset is always the foundation of anything that you're going to do. So hopefully that was inspiring to you a little bit to start that process, and come back next week. We're going to put, all these things you guys have been thinking about into action and give some tools how to move things forward in this new year.
So you're in that, 20-some% that actually keep their resolutions instead of the 60-some% that don't.
Week 1. So
yeah.
We will get you there, and we look forward to talking to you next week. If you need anything, our website is always a great place for resources, downsizingroadmap.com, and we can't wait for part 2.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks for joining us on the Downsizing Roadmap podcast. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who might need a little downsizing inspiration. Have questions or ideas for future episodes? Reach out to us on our website, www.downsizingroadmap.com. Until next time, let's keep simplifying and moving forward.